Hello YouTube, thought I'd do a quick video here. Good news, the kit for the 1/2-inch conduit adjustable SWR J-pole antenna kit for either GMRS, ham, or business band is now available. Notice I said kit. This is not a full antenna. The kit that you get is what you see right now in front of you. And I'm going to explain these parts, and I'm going to show you how to assemble this, how this all comes together, okay? So this is what you get in the kit. You get a SO239, you get a feeder bar, you get an adapter. This adapter lets you mount your J-pole, your 1/2-inch conduit J-pole, to a 3/4-inch PVC pipe. You get a cover to cover the SO239 when you're done hooking up your wires. You get end caps to put at the end of the pipe. I will show you that more in a minute. And you get 4 rings. Now, there's going to be some assembly. Obviously, besides making the antenna, there's a couple parts here that you got to assemble. So you're going to need some liquid super glue. And, like I said, this kit's for a 1/2-inch conduit. So when you buy your conduit, and the length of conduit is going to depend on the frequency you want to make your antenna. And there's a calculator which will be on the store website, and I'm also going to post a link in the description below to the store and how you can purchase this kit. But when you get your conduit, get a little extra because you're going to cut off a 2-inch piece off this 1/2-inch conduit. This kit's only meant for a 1/2-inch conduit. I don't know, maybe if there's some other 1/2-inch rods out there, it may work for that, but it's designed for a 1/2-inch conduit. But you're going to cut off a 2-inch piece. The reason being is we got to super glue these rings onto the feeder bar. Now you're probably asking, well, why didn't you just make it all be one piece? Well, let me explain why. There's a couple reasons. One, I'm trying to keep the hours and the labor down on this. 2, sometimes when you try to make all the parts fit on one part, the cleanup time is much longer than it is to just print the parts separately and glue them together. Again, comes down to time and labor. The other reason is, well, why don't you glue them for us before you send it? Well, I don't want to do that because, again, time, labor, time, but also for shipping reasons. I don't want this to get damaged anyway, so I just figured it'd be best if you glue it, and it saves a lot of time and a lot of headaches. That's where you're going to take this little 1/2-inch conduit. You're wondering, well, how am I going to make sure I glue this? The bigger one obviously goes on the bigger side of it, and the small one goes on the smaller one. So how do I make sure I get these straight without gluing them crooked so that, I don't have a problem having this slide down? That's where this comes in. This is a guide. You do not glue this. Use this as a guide to make sure you put your rings on straight. That's what I did when I did mine. And you put them on there like that. You put super glue on here. You set them on there and make sure that you get them on straight so that you don't get this crooked. Otherwise, when it slides down the J-pole, it may bind. So that's what you got to do. Very simple. It's not a big deal, but that's how I did mine. Okay, so I just want to show you that right off the bat. You're going to have to glue that. Now, once you're done gluing that, now the parts that you got to get that are not included in the kit, obviously 1/2-inch conduit, 2 hose clamps, 4 with nuts, 6 30-seconds 1/2-inch long bolts, because that's what we're going to do to mount. We're going to use those to mount the SO239 to the feeder bar. 1 ring terminal, which is a 16 to 14 gauge, and it's a number 4 to number 6 stud. I'll have all this on the website, on the store website, so you know what to get. Copper wire can be either 14 gauge or 12 gauge. I happen to have 14 gauge laying around. You're going to need a couple pieces like that. Threaded rod with nuts, which I'm out of, but I'll show you what I mean by that. Optional is brass tubing. I'll explain more on that later. And a 2 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches long bolts, 2 of them with a nut. You're going to want some clear silicone to seal everything all up to keep the water out. And importantly, you're going to need clear. If you want to paint this antenna in a different color, then you don't have to use clear. You could use brown, green, whatever. Just make sure the spray paint is meant for plastic and it's UV resistant. That's most important, because when you get your SWRs all done, all tuned in, and it's all done, you're going to spray it down, whether it's with clear or a color. But you're going to spray it down when you're done with the antenna. So that's very important that you do that. And it's important that it's for plastic and it's UV resistant. Okay? So that's the parts you got to get separately that do not come with the kit. Now, when you cut your antenna pipe or conduit, you're going to cut it to the length that says on the website. Now, there's going to be 2 pieces. One's going to be the short piece and one's going to be the long piece. I'm going to tell you right now, on the long piece, add 2 inches to it. So let's say the calculator on the website says 15 inches for the long piece. You're going to make it 17. And the reason being is we need a couple inches for that adapter I was telling you about that you want to use to be able to mount your J-pole to your 3/4 inch PVC pipe. And you can drill a hole. There'll be a hole in the adapter already, but you can drill a hole for that 1/4 inch bolt I mentioned. So that's why you got to leave a couple inches on there. It won't affect anything. Okay. Now the threaded rod is very important. Now, unless you're a great pipe bender, good luck on trying to bend that pipe so that this feeder bar slides nicely. Don't ask me how I know that. I came up with the threaded rod because of that reason. We can use threaded rod and adjust the spacing perfectly, so when you slide this feeder bar up and down, it's going to move nicely. That's how you adjust SWRs, is by sliding this up and down. And then once you get it to the SWR you want for the frequency you want to use, you tighten the hose clamps and you make sure you tighten up this threaded rod. And that's it. Now, the end caps, as you can see here, which yours will be white, you put a little silicone and you put them at the end to keep rain out of here. You put one there, and then one at the other end of the long one. Now, we don't need one down here because the adapter is going to be on there. Okay? Now, the brass rod, let me see if I can get this to show you better. I like using the brass rod because I want to make sure the connection's good. You could just use the wire by itself, but I like putting that brass rod in there. I soldered the wire to the brass rod, and that's underneath the hose clamp. I just prefer that. You don't have to do that, but that's where the brass rod comes into. 1/8 inch, and then you solder. You cut a little bit off here, and you solder it. And that goes underneath there. You could just use the wire itself if you choose to. It's up to you. Okay? The ring terminal is for the ground. So we run it right through that bolt. That's why you need one ring terminal. Now, this is important. Make sure you do this correctly. The shorter piece is ground. The longer piece of the J-pole is the center conductor. If you flip these around, you will change the pattern on how this antenna outputs. Okay, so make sure you do that correctly. Now, I try to make these, if it's 1/2 inch conduit, you're using, all these parts should fit pretty nicely. But if for some reason, if you have an issue, let's say you get your conduit and your cap doesn't want to fit in there real well, you can sand the plastic on here lightly to get your cap in there. Okay? These caps are a little loose. That's why I made them a little loose to begin with, because you're going to put silicone on them and you're going to shove them inside there, and that's how you're going to fasten those caps. Okay? Now, when you get everything all adjusted and your SWRs are good, you're going to want to put that cover on. You know, that's what this cover is for, to cover this up. Again, you're going to use some of the silicone, you're going to put it on the edge, and you're going to put the cover on. Once you get your SWRs all adjusted and everything's good, you put that cover on there. Now, when you have everything together, and what I mean together is, we're going to put this together just like you completed it. You hit your SWRs are good. You know, you're ready to mount this on your antenna mast. You're all set. When you have this all together, you're going to spray this all down with that clear or color, depending on what you do. Like I said, make sure it's for plastic and it's got UV. You can spray all of it down, even the metal, everything. After your SWRs are done, adjusted. That's most important after you're done doing that. Okay? And that's pretty much about it. If you're wondering, you might be wondering, well, why is yours gray plastic and you're going to be having white? Well, the white, you want a lighter color for hot climates. That's one reason why. This gray plastic is not good plastic. It's good for prototyping. It's good to kind of show you on camera per se, but it's not good plastic. I use that plastic for my prototype. That's why you're seeing a difference in color. You want the white, not the gray. So that's why. So, at any rate, yeah, that's pretty much how you do it. It's pretty simple. Obviously, you hook your coax onto here, and you slide this up and down to get your SWRs, and tighten everything all down, the hose clamps, the threaded rod, and that's it. So there you have it. I'll post a link down below where you can purchase the kit, and it will have all the information on that link, what size bolts, everything you need to know. If you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Please subscribe. Thank you, and have yourself a good day.